Let's be honest. Most of us grew up hearing the same story, told by parents, teachers, and every guidance counselor we ever met. We all got the same rulebook for life. Go to school, get good grades, go to college, work hard, get a good job, be responsible. It was drilled into us from the start, as if it was a universal formula for success. Do all that, and you'd win. A stable life, a home, a secure career, maybe a family, and a future where you could actually retire. The promise was clear. Follow the steps, and you'd be rewarded. We took it seriously. Late nights, unpaid internships, checking every box. Some of us worked 2 or 3 jobs just to keep up, sacrificing sleep and social lives for a shot at that promised future. We were the generation that followed the blueprint, believing effort would equal stability. We celebrated every small win, thinking it was a step closer to the life we'd been told was waiting. But when we graduated, the game had changed. The world we entered was nothing like the one we'd been prepared for. The finish line moved. The stadium was renovated while we were studying. Suddenly, the rules we'd memorized didn't apply anymore. Stable jobs? Now mostly gigs or contracts, no benefits. The career ladder became a patchwork of side hustles and short-term gigs, with no safety net. Affordable homes? Priced out of reach? Even renting feels impossible in cities where wages haven't kept up with costs. The dream started to feel like a bait and switch. We did everything right, but the rewards kept slipping further away. We trained for a marathon, but showed up to a triathlon, with a bear. The obstacles weren't just harder, they were completely different. When we pointed this out, we got blamed. Instead of empathy, we got lectures. Called lazy, entitled, told we wanted trophies for showing up. The narrative shifted from work hard and succeed to you're not trying hard enough. But we did show up. We did the work. We went above and beyond, hoping it would finally pay off. The problem wasn't our effort. We gave everything we had, and then some. The rules were rewritten without telling us. Every time we adjusted, the goalposts moved again. And then they acted surprised when we started losing. As if we hadn't been playing by the rules all along. We're not failing the game was changed on us. We're navigating a world that barely resembles the one we were promised. The rulebook we were given is now obsolete. The advice that worked for our parents just doesn't fit anymore. We're left wondering how to win a game that no longer exists. The rules are unclear, and the path forward is anything but obvious. The American dream? It's been rebranded, repackaged, and put out of reach. It's now a marketing slogan, not a reality. We're not asking for handouts. We just want the rules to make sense again. We want a fair shot, not a shortcut. The frustration isn't entitlement, it's reality. We're tired of being told our struggles are our own fault. We're not the problem, the system is. And we're not alone in seeing it. It's time to question the rulebook itself. Maybe it's time to write our own. Because if the game is rigged, maybe it's time to stop playing by their rules and start building something new. Our parents grew up believing in what some called the boomer bargain. Work hard, get a steady job, and society would provide security. It was a promise that shaped their lives and the advice they gave us. Back then, one income could support a family, buy a house, pay for college, and guarantee retirement. My dad used to tell me about how he bought his first home at 25, with money saved from his first job out of high school. Higher education was affordable, jobs were stable, and pensions were the norm. My mom still has her college tuition bill from 1972. It was less than a month's rent today. The system was designed to catch you if you fell. There was a sense that if you lost your job, the community and the government would help you get back on your feet. Our parents gave us advice based on that world. Go to college, get a good job, buy a house. It was the blueprint they trusted, and they wanted the same for us. But while they taught us the map, the landscape was shifting. I remember graduating and realizing the jobs my parents talked about just didn't exist anymore. Or if they did, they barely paid the bills. The social contract they relied on was quietly voided. Suddenly, job security was replaced by contract work, and benefits became a luxury, not a guarantee. We inherited a new deal, one with a lot more fine print and a lot less security. My friend Sarah worked 3 jobs just to afford rent and student loan payments, something our parents never imagined. Their advice wasn't wrong for their time. It worked for them, and it made sense to pass it on. But the world that made it possible is gone. We're left navigating a reality they never had to face, with rules that changed before we even got a chance to play. The transformation didn't happen overnight. It was a slow, deliberate shift that began in the 1980s, a decade marked by sweeping economic and political changes. The big shift? Risk moved from society to the individual. Leaders like Reagan and Thatcher championed free market policies, arguing that government was the problem, not the solution. Personal responsibility became the buzzword, but it really meant you're on your own. Public goods were cut, regulations rolled back, and unions weakened. Deregulation of airlines and banks led to booms for some, but instability for many. Companies prioritized profits over people. The era of shareholder value began, with CEOs rewarded for slashing jobs and boosting stock prices. Pensions became 401ks. Now your retirement is your problem. Companies offloaded the risk, and millions found themselves unprepared for the future. Healthcare, job security, and education, all privatized risks. College tuition soared, health insurance became tied to employment, and job security faded as contract work and temp jobs spread. The safety net shrank to a thread. The wealthy got richer, workers lost security. The 2008 crash showed how fragile things had become for ordinary people. We were told we'd be owners, but most of us just own debt and anxiety. Student loans, credit cards, and mortgages became the new normal. We're expected to be CEOs of our own lives, without the resources or support. The gig economy promised flexibility, but delivered insecurity. The rules were rewritten for capital, not for us. Tax cuts and deregulation favored the wealthy and big business, widening the gap. We're playing by old rules in a new, rigged game. The system flipped, and most of us are still trying to catch up. Modern life comes with a price tag we never agreed to. For millions of young adults, just keeping up feels like running a marathon with a backpack full of bricks. College? The so-called ticket to the middle class now comes with crushing debt. The average student loan balance for recent graduates in the U.S. is over $37,000. One former student, Maya, says, "I pay $400 a month and it barely dents the principal." We start adulthood deep in the red, just for following the rules. According to the Federal Reserve, over 45 million Americans carry student debt, and many delay milestones like buying a home or starting a family. Housing? Rent eats up half our income, if we can even find a place. In cities like New York and San Francisco, the median rent for a one-bedroom is over $3,000 a month. "I work 2 jobs and still can't afford my own place," says Jordan, a 27-year-old barista. The old 30% of income rule is a joke. Experts like housing economist Jenny Schuetz say, for most young people, spending less than half their income on rent is simply unrealistic. Healthcare? Even with insurance, a single bill can ruin you. Medical debt is the #1 cause of bankruptcy in America. "I had insurance, but one ER visit cost me $2,000 out of pocket," recalls Sam, a 25-year-old graphic designer. Groceries, gas, phone plans, everything costs more. Inflation hit a 40-year high in 2022, and wages haven't kept up. The price of eggs alone jumped 70% in 1 year. We're forced to juggle bills, stretch paychecks, and live with constant financial pressure. Financial therapist Amanda Clayman says, "The anxiety is real. People are making impossible choices every month. The basics, education, housing, healthcare, have all outpaced wages. Since 1980, college tuition has increased by over 1,200%, while median wages have barely budged. The price of adulthood is higher than ever, and we're left outside the gates. As one expert put it, it's not a lack of effort, it's a system stacked against you. The system demands more, right when we have the least. Entry-level jobs often pay less than a living wage, and side hustles are now a necessity, not a choice. It's not just hard, it's mathematically impossible for many. As financial analyst Mark Zandi says, for a whole generation the math simply doesn't add up. Costs soared, but paychecks didn't. I remember opening my rent notice last year, another $200 increase just like that. My friend Sarah, a nurse, picked up extra shifts, but her paycheck barely covered groceries after her student loan payment. Productivity and profits rose, but wages stayed flat. Since 1979, worker productivity in the U.S. has grown over 60%, but average hourly pay has barely budged. The gap just keeps widening. We're more educated and productive, but get a smaller slice. My cousin graduated with honors, but she's back in her childhood bedroom, sending out resumes every day. You do everything right, but still fall behind. It's like running a race where the finish line keeps moving further away. Raises are eaten by rent and insurance hikes. In 2023, average rents rose 8%, while health insurance premiums jumped 7%. Any extra money disappears before you even see it. The economic treadmill just speeds up. No matter how hard you hustle, it feels impossible to catch up. Expectations haven't changed, but the tools to meet them are gone. My neighbor applied to 50 jobs last month. Most never even replied. We're told to hit milestones that are out of reach. Homeownership rates for millennials are 8% lower than previous generations at the same age. The pressure is real, but the system is rigged. It's not just bad luck. It's a broken game. The dream isn't dead, it's been priced out of reach. We're not lazy or entitled. We're just running faster, only to stay in place. Decades ago, unions, public services, and strong communities formed a safety net that protected millions. But starting in the late 1970s and 80s, new policies, deregulation, privatization, and budget cuts began to unravel that support. Unions lost power as laws changed and industries moved overseas. Wages stagnated, benefits disappeared, and public services like childcare and transit were slashed. Mental health care, once widely available, was cut back or privatized, leaving many without help. For people like Maya, who lost her job and couldn't afford therapy, or Jordan, who was denied unemployment after a factory closure, each cut made life more precarious. Now, a single setback, an illness, a layoff, a rent hike, can spiral into disaster. There's no buffer, no support, just constant precarity. People like Sam, who once relied on subsidized transit to get to work, now walk miles or miss shifts. We're all walking a tightrope with no net, hoping not to fall. The result? More isolation, more anxiety, less resilience. Stories like these are everywhere, but the policies that cause them are rarely discussed. The safety net didn't just vanish, it was shredded by deliberate choices, leaving us to face the consequences alone. Living in this system takes a toll on our minds. It's not just stress, it's a deep, persistent ache that follows us everywhere. Burnout isn't just tiredness, it's exhaustion from running a race you can't win. According to the World Health Organization, burnout is now recognized as a legitimate occupational phenomenon, and studies show millennials and Gen Z report higher rates of anxiety and depression than any previous generation.
I feel like I'm always behind, no matter how hard I work. There's never a moment to breathe.
Economic precarity fuels anxiety that never goes away. Research from the American Psychological Association links financial instability to chronic stress and declining mental health.
We're told our struggles are personal failures, labeled entitled, lazy, or wasteful. But this is gaslighting. A 2022 Pew Research study found that over 60% of young adults feel misunderstood by older generations.
The rules changed and we're blamed for not keeping up. It's like being handed a broken map and told to find your way.
Shame and isolation pile on top of stress. The CDC reports rising rates of loneliness and mental health struggles among young people. Millions feel this way. It's not just you. Community and solidarity are powerful antidotes. The problem isn't us, it's the game itself, and together we can change the rules. This is the key. Your struggle is not your fault. You're not lazy or bad with money. You're reacting to a broken system. But there are ways forward. The anxiety and burnout are signs you're paying attention. And you're not alone. Many are finding strength in community. We've been told to blame ourselves, not the system. But healing starts with self-compassion and reaching out for support. When millions are struggling, it's not personal. It's systemic. Medical debt, underemployment, unaffordable housing. These are collective wounds. But together, people are fighting back and finding solutions. Recognizing the problem is systemic is liberating. In some cities, grassroots efforts have led to real change, like rent caps and expanded healthcare access. It frees you from self-blame and lets you ask, what's wrong with the system? And how can we change it together? Instead of fixing ourselves to fit a broken world, we can work to fix the world. Mutual aid, advocacy, and voting are powerful tools. This isn't making excuses, it's seeing the truth. And it's proof that change is possible, one step at a time. The first step is to stop blaming ourselves. The next is to take action, no matter how small. Together we can demand better, and build a future where everyone has a fair shot. Hope is not just a feeling, it's a movement. So, what now? Where do we begin? First, call out the game. Talk openly about how the rules have changed, at school, at work, online, and in your community. Acknowledge the rules changed and reject the blame. Use your voice, whether it's a tweet, a conversation, or a sign at a rally. Share your story, realize you're not alone. When we speak up, we find each other and build strength. That's how we build collective power. Join or start a group, whether it's a tenants union, a student organization, or a local advocacy network. Demand real solutions. Tackle student debt, make housing a right, rebuild the safety net, raise wages. Sign petitions, show up at City Hall, and vote for leaders who share your vision. These aren't radical, they're normal in other countries. In Germany, college is free. In Norway, housing is a right. In New Zealand, mental health care is prioritized. The resources exist. It's about will and priorities. Push for transparency. Ask where your city's money goes and demand it serves the people. The world was built by choices. It can be rebuilt by new ones. Every community that organizes, every policy that changes, starts with people like you. Recognizing the rules changed isn't the end. It's the beginning. Real change is possible, and it's already happening. Let's stop playing their rigged game and start writing new rules. Together. Organize, speak up, and take action. The future is ours to shape.